positive heads out there. Brandon Beecham and Dalien here. As always, thanks for tuning in to the Positive Head podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Dan O'Donnell, on the show. Dan is the founder of PositiveAtmosphere.com, the Positive Thinking Facebook group, and is also the creator of the highly unique new board game Better Me, which is a game that centers around growth and friendship. Hello, Dan. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Now, tonight we're going to do something a little bit different with the show. I still want to talk a little bit about Dan's story, but then I want the three of us to actually play his game Better Me on the show. I figured what better way for people to get a sense of how unique Better Me is than to listen along as we play. And luckily, with the way the game works, you don't need to see the board to follow along. But we'll get into all that more in just a bit. First, I want to talk a little bit about your story, Dan. Tell me a little, the listeners and all of us a little bit about your background. How and when did you get started with Positive Atmosphere?
Sure. Okay. I think I had the idea for Positive Atmosphere, I believe it was 2006, and I was on a plane going to Dubai, I believe, and I was reading a Zig Ziglar book, actually. I think it was See You at the Top. And he was talking about, the idea of if you can find something you love to do that holds your interest, it won't feel like work, and, you'll be happier.
Love what you do, and you never work a day in your life, right?
Exactly, yeah. And so I don't know if you've probably been on a long flight now and then. You have a lot of time to think. You can't really do a lot else. And I just was sort of ruminating on that for a while, thinking, okay, well, what do I love to do? Because at the time I was in real estate. I bought and sold real estate myself, and also was a realtor, helped other people do it. And it was fine, but I don't think I was quite passionate about it. I liked learning, and there was a lot to learn. But so it kind of was right there in front of my face, because I thought, well, here I am on vacation, choosing to read this Zig Ziglar book. So obviously I like this personal development stuff. And I thought, and I'm on a trip to Dubai just to check it out. I really didn't have a reason to go. And I thought, well, I like to travel just because, and I like this personal development stuff. So if I could get involved in personal development in a way that allowed me to travel, which, of course, anything online where if you have an internet connection, you can work, then it doesn't really matter where you are. Like, I'm in Thailand talking to you right now, and you're in California, right?
Right.
So it seemed like something online with personal development made sense. And I didn't know of any, network or, social network, whatever you want to call it, community site centered around that. So that became the idea. But that idea sat on a Google Doc or whatever it was at the time, probably a Word document, for a couple of years before I actually got moving on it.
Now, when was this? How long ago was this?
Well, originally on that flight was 2006, and it was in 2008 when I was in a mastermind group with some people from work. And there was a lady in there, her name's Renee Daniels, and she wrote a book called 10 Little Bulldogs. And at the time, it's a children's book. At the time, it was just an idea that she had. She is very much into French bulldogs, and she has all kinds of friends that are into that. And she wanted to do a book for kids with bulldogs. So during our mastermind group where we met each week, she started the process of writing the book. And she would every week tell us, what her goals were for the next meeting, which would be something like getting all the photos taken, getting the layout, getting the graphic design for the cover, and all that sort of stuff. And I watched her just make progress week to week to where in a couple months, the book was pretty much finished. It needed a few little touches and things, but mostly it was done. And watching just the first few weeks of that got me thinking, man, what's my excuse? I'd been telling myself,
just seeing the process.
Yeah. And I thought, well, I'm busy with real estate. I'll start the website someday. But I watched her just taking steps. And so I said, okay, the first goal I set was just to go get the domain name. And I looked at Positive Atmosphere. Yeah. PositiveAtmosphere.com was available. So I snagged that. And then the momentum just built from there. I just took some action every week, and watching her, it raised the bar for me mentally, because she was just making such fast progress towards something that seems like a big deal, but when you break it down to small steps,
into
it's just
little
not
steps.
that. Yeah, exactly. So that led to the Facebook page later, which a guy that worked down the hall from me said, this was 2008, I think, and Facebook pages were still pretty new. I still didn't understand the difference between a Facebook page and my profile, And he said, you should make a Facebook page for your website, call it something generic like positive thinking so people know what it is. He said, don't call it positive atmosphere because people won't understand it. So I did that, and just kept taking little baby steps. That turned out to be, now it's over 800,000 people and very active.
That's incredible.
I'm glad I listened to Eric on that one. So that was the start of everything.
Very, very cool. So you're currently approaching 1 million Facebook followers. That's a pretty big accomplishment. Has it been a steady growth over the 5 years? I mean, how did you get there?
Pretty steady, yeah. And it's funny because people with new pages ask me that a lot. How did you get there? How'd you drive the growth? And I didn't pay for likes, which now you can do, and a lot of people do it effectively. But nobody was really doing that when I started. It was just being consistent, really. Nothing tricky. It was a lot of time, sitting in front of my computer and finding pretty pictures and inspiring quotes and interacting with the people who commented. And it was just steady. We posted every day. Now we post every hour, sometimes more. At the time, it was at least once a day. And
wow, every hour, that's quite a commitment.
Yeah, I have an assistant that helps me with that, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Wow. Well, congratulations on that. That's certainly something to be proud of.
Thank you. Yeah, and it wasn't anything tricky though. It was just a matter of doing it every day.
Trying just to being committed and having a genuine intention to spread, positive information, and that seems to be. You typically are reposting quotes that you like and stories that you like, correct?
Yeah. So videos, pictures, quotes, all of that. Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, I think when you're trying to do something that helps people too, you get a type of buy-in that you don't necessarily get with, if you had a shoe store or something. Nothing against shoe stores, but when you're trying to help inspire people get excited and they want to share it. They want to help you. They want to tell their friends about it. So you definitely have an advantage.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And of course, the type of people that are getting behind what you're doing are people that are striving to be more positive in their own life. And so it's that all goes hand in hand, right?
Yeah, definitely. And one of the side benefits is, if you want to call it customer service or whatever, interacting with people. If there's ever a tech issue or something, they tend to be the most understanding, patient, nice people.
Yeah, that's great.
I just had a lady order Better Me, and somehow the player pieces and the die did not get put in the box. And so I said, okay, I'm on it. We'll figure it out. We'll send you some. Sorry about that. And I'm going to check and make sure other people are getting everything they're supposed to be getting too. And her response was, it was more of just an FYI. I can just use some, whatever coins or something for pieces. And I have a die anyway. I just wanted you to know there was an issue. It's like, okay, thanks.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a pretty good attitude when it comes to paying for a product and not getting all the pieces. So
yeah. It's really nice. I'm sure you'll find that too with your podcast. Just, the comments tend to be pretty positive and all of that.
Wonderful. So on your site, Positive Atmosphere, that's a community of, positive people, inspiring and empowering each other, as you put it. Blogs, video discussions. How many people do you currently have in the community, and how active is that? I mean, I've taken a look at it. It's not something that I plan to join, but have not as of yet. So tell me a little more about it.
Just going from memory, I've got so many numbers floating around. I think it's around 16,000 people right now. And
that's great.
It is a community, like you said, so people can, add friends and share pictures and videos and all of that kind of stuff. And so it's sort of like, it's similar to a Facebook or a different social network, but it's centered just
specialized version, essentially, right?
Right. So, the whole idea behind having a community, because when I started it, there were lots of blogs with really great content, lots of videos and all kinds of audios and really good stuff. And I thought, I want to try to fill a need that hasn't been filled yet. And I compare a lot of things to, sports. That's something I was involved in a lot. So if you want to get better at baseball, you don't go sit at your house and read a book about baseball and not talk to anybody else about baseball, right? You get on a team, you go to practice. It's fine to read and, watch videos about it, but you need to actually go apply it.
Action at some point.
Yeah. And you need to be on a team, right? So you don't just go throw a ball up against the wall by yourself. And that's what I think a lot of people are doing with personal development stuff is they'll get a book, they'll write some New Year's resolutions or some goals down, things like that. But they don't have that accountability and that support, which is so key. And it's
absolutely,
people know that. And in almost anything else, it's standard. If you want to get better at, just name a skill, you do an apprenticeship or you go get in a class where other people are learning it, which that did exist. Of course, there are seminars and those types of things in personal development. But I wanted to help connect the people and, put them together because I think good things happen when you do that with the people who have a common goal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So you started that in 2009?
I think it was 2008.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe early or mid 2008. I don't really tend to remember dates exactly, but it was somewhere in there. And then the Facebook page came shortly after. We also had local positive atmosphere meetups going on where we'd have people come in and teach us certain skills like
nice.
Nonviolent communication, things like that. We were doing that.
Okay.
I'm from Bellingham, Washington. We did it there. And actually the local groups of positive atmosphere is what led to Better Me, because a member of Positive Atmosphere said that she wanted to have a get together in her area near St. Louis. And so I flew out there to that, to attend it. And it was cool. Good group of people. They did a couple of meetups like that. And she actually, we were talking about personal development stuff in general. And we got on the topic and she said, isn't it strange that there's no game for it? And then it reminded me, have you ever played the game Cash Flow or heard of that game by Robert Kiyosaki? So what it does is it teaches people financial literacy. He's the guy who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Cash Flow Quadrant.
Yeah. I'm familiar with him, but I've never heard of the game.
Yeah, so it's the basic idea is he used a board game to teach people real world skills. It talks about buying and selling real estate and stocks and savings and all of that. So I thought, if you applied that same idea to personal development and help people, talking about things like patience or forgiveness or discipline and gratitude, that would be pretty cool. And again, that sat in a Google Doc from probably 2000 late. I think it was around Christmas of 2008 until, I actually busted out a piece of paper and some pens and made the first rough draft in 2014 of the game. So,
oh, wow. So you had the basic idea for many years, but actually, what we see today as the game, which you've just recently launched, correct? All has come together in this year. I didn't realize it was the concept was there, but the details are pretty fresh.
Yeah, the first game on just literally a piece of graph paper, and I drew it out with highlighters for different colors and things. I played with a friend in November. So, and the game hasn't been available to buy until, I don't know exactly, but it's been right around 2 months. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's new. And that's a common theme in my life.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Pretty unique concept. And of course, we're going to get into that more in a minute too.
Yeah. And I guess I want to share that with people that in my life, I've had a lot of things that have this long, gestation period where it's an idea somewhere and I write them down so I don't totally forget about them. Or now I use a Google Doc, but I'm sure there are people listening who can identify with, my friend who wrote the children's book. I had another friend just write a novel, and these were things they had been thinking about for a long time. So, don't get down on yourself if you had an idea and here it is a year later and you haven't started yet. It's never too late to start, right? and today is always the best day to do it. So, and it doesn't have to be this massive project, because I didn't know anything about publishing a board game, or, I didn't even know how to use Photoshop or any of that, but I found people to help with that. And it was the same when I started with Positive Atmosphere. I wasn't a web developer. And back then there were, less tools to make websites. Now you can, pretty much anybody can start a website if you use the right software or subscription program or something. But you just take one step, right? You don't always see the mountaintop from the valley.
Yep, it definitely it can be daunting when you're laying out any project, and I find as well, if you just put down, start making a list of the things that you need to accomplish, and just check them off one by one, and eventually you realize you've come a really long way, and it doesn't seem near as daunting if you just focus on task by task.
I agree. Jack Canfield's one of my favorite guys, and he talked about it where I don't know where he got it, but basically, if you're going to drive from New York to LA, you don't need to know where every stoplight is and which way you're going to turn at every intersection. You turn on your headlights. You can see, a few 100 feet in front of you. When there's a red light, you stop. When it turns green, you go. If you get lost, you can ask somebody for directions, or, look it up on your smartphone now or whatever. So just, you can't wait till all the lights are green to leave the house, right?
Yeah, he is a chicken soup for the soul guy, right?
Yeah, he did that with Mark Victor Hansen, the two of them. And actually, I'll give him a plug, because this book helped me out a ton. The Success Principles that Jack Canfield wrote is probably overall my favorite personal development book. I know a lot of people talk about Think and Grow Rich and some others, but that one, to me, it's like a textbook. It's thick. It goes through almost any topic related to personal development. And I just personally really like his style. I think he's a really genuine guy. So I'd highly recommend The Success Principles.
Yeah. Well, one thing I did want to say is that I definitely relate to your comment about things that are sort of a long gestation period. Anything that takes years really to develop. That's something that Brendan and I can definitely relate to.
Yeah.
So yeah. But by all means, congratulations on your finished product now. But there's really no shame or any kind of big deal at all in anything taking anything worthwhile. Of course, will be a long time in the works.
And another thing on a related topic, something that really helps me out is I really am a big fan of biographies. And even if you're not a big reader, I mean, you've got the biography channel has all these pretty short, like 1 hour specials about different people, and any form of biography, whether it's a YouTube video or a big fat book or whatever. To me, if you read books about people that society kind of puts up on a pedestal, you'll start to realize when you really dig in and learn more about them, more than what they show on the 6 o'clock news and stuff, you learn about their struggles and how long it took some of them to become successful. To me, is really eye-opening. Like one of my favorite examples, and it's a current example, is Derek Jeter, who just retired, right? He's a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame, Major League Baseball. One of the most recognized and celebrated players of recent history. When he was in the minor leagues, and I don't remember all the exact numbers, but he spent several years in the minor leagues. I want to say it was maybe 7. And he was doing and he was doing all right, but he was sort of a weak fielder, which is crazy because that's what everybody thinks about. He's this insane, all-star player, great fielding baseball player, but he took, I think it was 6 weeks, and worked on nothing but fielding. He just quit batting practice, and he would be out there like 4 to 6 hours working on fielding every day. And, this is a guy, future Hall of Famer, struggling in the minor leagues for years. But he always knew that he wanted to be a Yankee. And it wasn't just a Major League Baseball player, it was a Yankee. And from what I've heard, he had Yankee stuff hanging on his walls and all that, to keep him motivated and remind him what he was doing.
Those visual reminders,
Yeah. So he just, he didn't, and I've actually known people that, I played with one guy in high school who wound up playing a little Major League Baseball. And I think he's still playing at some professional level. And, I thought in high school that this guy was just insanely talented, right? He was a year older than me, or in the class above me. He was actually my same age, but he was my age, in the class above, standout athlete. Guy would hit home runs that left our baseball field and bounced off the sidewalk and went across the street and he hit the lawnmower store across the street one time. We're just like, oh my God, what is with this guy? He's like a freak of nature. And then we had a team barbecue get together at his house one time, and I wasn't real close friends with him. I didn't hang out with him outside of school or anything. So when I got to his house, we pull up and he has a batting cage in his yard. And he was the only guy that I ever knew or that I played baseball with who had a batting cage at his house, and the light bulb went on. Yeah. I go, oh, okay. He's not just naturally 10 times more talented than us. This guy's out here hitting in his backyard every day.
Yeah.
So,
yep. That's usually the difference. It's that extra effort that tips the scales and almost anything, whether you look at, it's business or a creative venture or, as a serial entrepreneur myself, I mean, I've had way more failures than I have success. And really it's been in recent years that I've had any kind of significant success. And, I'm sure there are many people who watched my journey who thought, okay, this guy, he's going nowhere fast, but I never stopped believing in myself. I never stopped, maybe you have those moments, but I love the quote. And of course I'm such a junkie for great quotes anyway, but I forget who said this one, but it's, you only lose when you quit. And so many people quit, it's over. I've tried, too bad. If you just keep going, if you just keep pushing and you go that extra mile, that's when, usually the big breakthroughs come.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's important for people to learn that about people like you or their sports hero or some actor or whatever, that they didn't just ride this escalator to success, right?
Yeah,
they worked.
Right.
And usually all they talk about once people have made it is all their big successes, the movie that made $100 million or whatever, the World Series.
And it looks like it happened overnight.
Yeah.
So as far as moving forward with Positive Atmosphere, I mean, you've got a great user base. You've been at it for a while. Do you have a particular plan with where you want to take it or, other projects in the works or kind of where do you see yourself going from here?
Sure. To be totally honest, I like to be transparent. I think Positive Atmosphere, I just talked about this with my assistant. We were talking about strategy with it. And we kind of came to the conclusion, I wanted to make sure she wouldn't, it seemed like we were both trying to make sure the other person wouldn't be upset, but we both kind of thought, it kind of seems like positiveatmosphere.com is what it is. And we're getting new members and it's stable and the people that are in there using it are liking it. And, it sort of seems like it's fulfilling its purpose for right now anyway. If that changes later and we find new opportunities, that's cool. But I kind of like it the way it is. And we're putting most of our time and effort into things like Better Me right now.
Right. Well, yeah, that's your baby now, right? So
Yeah. And so positiveatmosphere.com will probably be pretty stable for the next little bit. No big, remodels or anything like that are planned. But it's a cool place to hang out and be a part and meet interesting people. And then, with Better Me, we actually have a pretty active Facebook group for players to connect and hold each other accountable to their commitments and things like that. And from memory, it's the Better Me Player Accountability and Connection Group, or maybe I flipped the words around the wrong order. But if people like the game after we play it, they can get in there and get involved. And if they're playing games in their own neighborhood, they can have people across the world holding them accountable, which is kind of cool. So
awesome.
As far as new projects, I think right now my energy is going to Better Me and getting that, spreading that around the world and helping people connect that are into it.
Very cool. Very cool. So before we get on to actually sampling Better Me, and we're going to play a full game here, and we may go back and edit this so it is, easily followable or not too long for you, our listeners out there. But Dan feels confident it will be, fun for you guys to follow along. And so we're going to do that here in just a minute. Before we do, what I want to do is get into, of course, I always love to hear any kind of positive paranormal story, stories of real magic, if my guest has one. And particularly if it's one that maybe helped guide you to where you are today, but not necessary. You know, any kind of inspiring stories of real magic, I'm game for, and I know the audience is. So tell us about that.
Yeah. I have a story that it happened maybe 3 years ago now in Costa Rica. And I can't say that it really was all that relevant to, positive atmosphere or the game or anything. Aside from the fact that maybe if it didn't go the way it went, worst case, I wouldn't be around to make the game. So,
well, that's relevant in all kinds of ways, right?
Yeah, you can do a commercial break now, and you'll know people will come back, right?
So exactly.
Yeah. So I'm in Costa Rica. My dad lives down there. He retired down there, and so I try to get down there, fairly often. It's been a little while, but I'm down there.
I went last year for the first time, and it was cool. It was awesome. Yeah, I went. There's a transformational festival called Envision down there that I went to in 2013. Nice. Highly recommend it. But
cool. Where was that? I'm just curious.
Oh gosh, where was that? You know what? You're stumping me. I forget off the top of my head. The name.
It wasn't near a place called Santa Teresa, was it? Because
no.
Okay. I had a friend that went to a big end of the world Mayan calendar thing down that way.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so, you can look it up. It's called Envision. Envision. They're having it again. I think it's another month or two was the 2015 Envision, and I would love to make it down, but I have so much going on with the launch of Positive Head and everything that I don't think I'll make it this year. But I plan to next year.
Cool. I know how that goes. I'm sure you have quite a to-do list right now.
I do, and I'm checking them off one by one because if I looked at everything, I might be intimidated.
That's right. Yeah, don't flip the page. Just keep it on that one.
Exactly.
So I'm in Costa Rica visiting my dad, and I had a friend who was in Costa Rica at the same time who was visiting his high school friend who lives there. And we decided to get together in a place called Santa Teresa, which was a beach town. I don't know. It should have been about 3 hours or so from my dad's house. So I borrowed my dad's motorcycle. He's got this kind of enduro style Kawasaki, on-road, off-road. And I looked at the maps and everything, figured out which way I was going to go. I think I left around 1 or 2 thinking it would be about 3 hours. So I'd be in, before sunset. Mm-hmm. And I was going to take kind of the shortest route as the crow flies rather than going a much further route that involved all the highways and stuff. So I said, no, there's this road that cuts through the jungle, ends up at the beach. Everything's good. So I go down that road and it winds up just being little more than a footpath. I didn't see anything else with an engine for several hours. I saw one guy riding a horse, and I really wasn't sure if I was going the right way. And the sun set while I was in the middle of nowhere in the jungle on the motorcycle, and I hadn't seen a house in 2 hours. And I didn't even really know I thought I was going toward the beach because rule of thumb is if you're lost, go downhill because that goes to water, right? So anytime there was a fork in the trail, I went whichever one looked like it went more downhill. And so I crossed all these little creeks and I'm just in the sticks. I remember I saw a vulture eating a dead anteater. It was just a really bizarre.
That was not encouraging.
Oh, wow.
No, it was like something out of a cowboy movie or something. So I finally get out of the hills and I'm on at least flat land. And I'm thinking, okay, that's probably good. I'm probably closer to the beach than I was, and I end up seeing an electrical line, which was awesome. I go, okay, that power is going somewhere. There's a house or something near here. Mm-hmm. And so I follow this little dirt road, and I'm actually on something you'd consider a road now. And I hear some music in the distance. So I go towards the music, and I come across this little bar with just a bunch of locals hanging out. It was like a little neighborhood bar. It almost looked like somebody's house that at night was a bar,
Been converted.
And I went and talked to the guys, and they hardly spoke any English, and I barely speak any Spanish, but enough to maybe get some directions. And I told them I was trying to go to Santa Teresa, and where do I go? And they pointed, down this road, directo, straight, blah, blah, blah. They said something about a river and then going across it. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'd crossed a bunch of little creeks, so I didn't think it was a big deal. And I go down that way, and then when I come to this river, it's like a real river, and I go, how am I supposed to cross this on this motorcycle? I don't know how deep it is. And now it's dark, you know? So I'm thinking maybe there's a sandbar or something that I don't see. And they said there was a road on the other side, but I couldn't see anything over there. And it seemed like when I came to the river on the road should be right on the other side of the river, right? But I didn't see it. So I start going along the river bank, and I'm on these little like gravel sandbars and stuff. And I went to cross this thing that was no bigger than all the creeks I'd been crossing. And it was only like maybe a foot and a half or a foot and a half of water and maybe 20 feet wide. And so I drop down into it and I go to ride across it. No problem. But when I get to the other bank, which was only like maybe 2.5 feet high, the bike wouldn't go up it because it was just sand and loose gravel. And it just, no matter what I did, it would not get out of this water. And so I'm standing there in water up to, almost my knee in the dark in a river in Costa Rica with my headlight like 30 degrees up in the air, pointing up into the trees. So I can't even really see what's around me. And now I'm freaking out because this part of Costa Rica, there are crocodiles and who knows what kind of snakes and all kinds of stuff. And I'm standing up to my knees in this river. I'm not happy about the situation,
it doesn't sound ideal.
No. And I said, okay, I had to calm myself down. I'm like, the worst thing you can do is just panic, right? And I could feel like my heart rate and my breathing was starting to do all that like fight or flight stuff. And I was like, okay, calm down. You have to be able to think. And I thought, okay, I've got the engine still running. That's a positive. I have a horn on this bike. That's a positive. I've got a headlight shining up in the trees, which if anybody's around, they could probably see that. So that's positive. And so I just kind of collected myself.
Could you have climbed out if you needed to?
I could have walked out of there, but then I'm walking around in the dark with no headlight on a riverbank at night, And to be honest, like I don't want to make it sound more Rambo than it really was. I could faintly hear that really loud music from the bar, but it was a ways away. And I wasn't really, I'd be walking there in the dark on a riverbank. And I mean, literally, I didn't know if I was going to trip over a crocodile, right?
Right.
So anyway, I calmed myself down enough. And so I moved the headlight around on the trees and started honking the horn on the bike. And I thought, I've probably got, an hour or two with the engine idling and stuff that can keep the bike running. I didn't really want to kill it in the river. Anyway, I'm just hanging out wondering what I'm going to do, thinking I'm probably not going to see anybody. And I kept trying to lift the bike out. I tried putting rocks under the back tire and all that. And just wasn't happening. And rocks were getting in the chain every time I gave it gas. I thought, man, I'm going to like bust the chain or break the sprocket or something. And then out of nowhere, some guy rides up on a mountain bike. And I said hi and he came over. And with his help, we lifted the bike up. It wasn't too big a problem with two guys. And I managed to ask him where he was going. And this is a guy on a mountain bike. He has no headlight or anything. And he says, I'm going to Santa Teresa. And I was like, what are the chances of some guy on a mountain bike at night coming up, going to where I'm going? Yeah. And I said, me too. And he kind of gave like a thumbs up and everything and motioned like, follow me. And so I got behind him. So now we both have a headlight basically, and he knows where he's going. So between the two of us, we're an excellent team. We have light and we know where we're going. So I follow this guy across the river, and it turns out it wasn't that deep, and he knew where the road was on the other side. And we go down this dirt road in the middle of nowhere for, 20 minutes or something. And we come out to this beautiful beach, and there was nothing there. So even if I had gotten there myself, I would have had no idea I was near the town. And we go left, ride for maybe 10 minutes down this gorgeous beach, like the moonlight sparkling off the waves and all of that. And then he stops and he says something like, this is where my house is, and Santa Teresa is right over there. And he just says, directo, just further, go. And he said something about over the hill. And then he pointed again and said, I'm going to go home. But he just pointed at basically some bushes, and I didn't see a home or anything, right? And this is where it kind of got weird. And I said, well, hey, he said it was close, the town. I said, can I buy you dinner or a beer or something? Like, thank you for helping, if you want to come to town with me. And he said, no, it's okay. I'll just go home. I'll go home. And then he kind of did the little like tapped his chest with his fist type of thing, like his heart, and just smiled. And I said, well, thank you. And I tried to say in Spanish, if you hadn't come along, I'd still be stuck in that river. And he just said I can't remember exactly the words he used, but it was like he tapped his heart again with his fist and like nodded. And then he just basically went off into the bushes. And I found after he did that, I was like, was that a real guy? Is that a real? Yeah, Is he really going to a house or what?
Yeah.
I have no idea, but it's not a confirmed ghost story or anything. But it was so convenient for me that the whole thing just got me thinking.
Yeah, so. And then the guy just disappears into some bushes. Which wow.
Yeah.
And then you had and then you had no issue finding the town from there.
Right. It was just like he said. I just went down the beach a little more over one hill and there's the town. And I got in there to my friend's hostel. He told me where he was staying. I told him I'd probably be there around 5:00 and it's about 9:30, and I pull in, I'm all muddy, just exhausted, wet. And he's like, man, I was worried about you. Where were you? It's like, I don't know, somewhere in the middle of the jungle. And then I got stuck in a river and oh man, it was quite an experience.
Well, that was certainly a synchronicity that, in a way, like you said, sort of saved your life, though, because it did come along at just the right time for you.
Yeah. And, even if he wasn't an angel or a ghost or whatever, my mind starts going to all those kind of things. Even if he wasn't, it's still super synchronous.
Yeah, very synchronistical. He came along in the dark without any light at the perfect time, and then was going right where you needed to go. And that's definitely a cool happening. Otherwise, there could be to this day in that little creek a crocodile that's much healthier looking.
Right, with a motorcycle tire in his belly and me.
Exactly. Oh man.
Well, Dan, one thing that I was interested in asking you is because I myself have sort of in recent years gotten pretty into video games, specifically PC games of the multiplayer kind. But I'm also, I suppose, old enough to appreciate board games, for example, and some of these like more adult-oriented, non-video game, of course, centric games. I was wondering if you were interested in developing any more games, really, or delving into anything like this, really.
Maybe. I don't really have a specific idea right now. The thing that comes to mind, though, is putting Better Me in some sort of, whether an app or an online game or whatever. That's something that I could see doing. I think right now I'm, focusing on the board game. But yeah, I think an app would be killer. Even if it was just an iPad app, or if, I think a tablet would be ideal, that you set on a table with your friends in the same room. They wouldn't have to be in the room, but I definitely think there's an advantage if they are. So that's something I definitely considered. It's another one where I would have to find somebody who knew a lot more about that than I do to get it done.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, small steps, right?
Yep.
Seems like an idea worth pursuing, though, so yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, awesome. Okay, so I guess without further ado here, we will proceed to play the game, the three of us, and we'll make sure it is, the game can get somewhat lengthy, you're saying, huh, Dan? It can get, the average game up to 2 hours long. So what we'll do is we'll play it the full length, and then we'll do an edit here so on the podcast, so that our listeners can follow along as easily as possible and get the somewhat of the Cliff Notes version of our game, and it gives them an idea. And then, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it really depends on the people playing, but the reason the game can take a long time is because the topics you get on, you end up wanting to talk about it rather than moving on to the next turn. So,
right.
You could probably play the game a lot quicker, but usually end up talking.
Yeah. Well, and I think we've got a group of talkers here anyway.
Yeah.
So that will probably be the case. So thank goodness for the ability to edit. I think that'll help, a little bit. And then, And of course, as far as the game itself, so you did just release the game, and people as of now can play online for free, correct?
Yeah, all they have to do is print out the player sheet and print out a game board, and then the cards are all online and it's all free. And I just want to stress, this isn't like internet marketer free. This is actually free. I don't require your email. I'm not going to be bothering you with in any way, we do have a mailing list if you want to get updated, but you can play the game for free, for real. It's all of the cards. It's the same board. There's, it's the full version. It's really free.
Awesome. Well, and I mean, we're essentially playing, as you said, it's probably, ideally, we would be in the same room, but not necessary, seeing how we're about to play the game here, the three of us, and me and Dalien are in California and you're in Thailand.
Right.
So.
I actually want to do the same thing with my mom. We haven't gotten around to it yet, but she likes the game and we haven't played,
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we get started? I'll let you lead the way here.
Great. And you guys have your player sheet in front of you, I'm assuming? And a
yes,
pen?
we do.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So the first thing we do is we roll to see who goes first. So how about I'll roll for you first? And that's a 3. And, oh, wait, you have a die over there, don't you? I forgot.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
So we can roll for ourselves. Then I rolled a 3.
Okay. So I roll 1 dice?
Yeah.
Okay. I got a 6.
Ooh, all right. And unless Dalien matches that, then you'd have a roll off.
I'm starting off good, right?
I am getting ready to roll here in 1 second.
All right.
I rolled a 2.
Okay. Good. So Brandon will start us off, and you'll just roll again to start the game.
Okay. I got a 5.
Cool. And you are the frog. So I will move you. And also, if people want to follow along and kind of see what we're doing, the game, everything is at bettermegame.com. And they can see the game board and understand what's going on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so you hit the fall forward space, which we talked about that a little bit, but that will send you to the forge, where you will miss your next turn. So that is your turn this time, and you'll miss your next turn. But when you get out of the forge, you will be supercharged. So you'll be able to move faster. And that symbolizes a hardship or a setback of some kind that you go through. You go to the forge, you get stronger, and you come out, wiser, tougher, faster, all of that.
Cool. So, I mean, kind of cool. It's sort of like going to jail in Monopoly. Except for you come out stronger and better for it. Is that right?
Yep, exactly. And if you're going to ever hit the fall forward, the first turn is the best turn to do it, because then you get that supercharge for the whole game.
Well, yeah, I knew that. I mean, I did that intentionally.
Go. Nice job.
All right.
Right. Yeah, right.
All right. Dalien, you want to roll?
All right. I am rolling a 1.
All right. So you're the elephant, and you landed on heart. So you would draw a heart card.
All right. Give me 1 second here. And it says heart. Share a favorite memory involving money and receive 1 point. Oh, okay. So a favorite memory involving money would be, I suppose I can... quote a most recent memory involving money, which is the ability to pay sort of an important debt that I was able to pay just sort of in the nick of time here. And I suppose I would say it's a favorite memory involving money because it's money that was just important for a personal reason, a debt that I just needed to pay. But
it was time sensitive, and you got the money just in the nick of time.
Absolutely, and it was thanks to you and your brother, of course, who are like dear friends of mine. So just very personally significant story. So
great, very cool. Alrighty, and so you'll mark your point for the heart category at the top of the sheet there.
Cool. Okay, so.
All right, and now it's my roll.
So he would just check the heart box, is that correct?
Yes, exactly.
Check 1 box? Okay.
Yeah, and in the full boxed version of the game, you get a little token, but in this one, you just write it down.
Yeah.
So I just rolled a 1 also, so that means Dalien and I are on the same place, so we both get to participate in this card, even if it doesn't say that on the card.
Okay.
So let me get to the cards, which are online for people.
Yeah, and the one thing I do want to make clear for listeners is that you do have the board, the actual physical version of the game. That what is that sell for online currently?
If $54.99 plus shipping.
Okay. So you can play for free online, but if you want the real deal, it's obviously you buy the physical game.
Yeah, which is good. I mean, people like having the game in their hand, and it's also, if you're going to be playing anywhere without internet, like you're going camping or something, it's helpful for that. And just to be totally transparent too, I in my life have gotten all kinds of value out of books and games and all kinds of things that either other people owned, or I got it at the library, or somebody, gave me a thumb drive with something on it or whatever. And so I wanted, just, karma wise, I wanted to offer this totally free to people, because I was in a position where, I didn't have $65 to, with the shipping to buy a game like this, but I would play it and share it with people and get something out of it. So I want it to be out there.
No, that's very cool. Like the card that I just drew, hard card involving money, which I thought was pretty cool and interesting. Definitely the whole significance of money related to a higher purpose is something that's very cool. So
yeah. Cool. Okay. And you see what I mean about how we want to talk already?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I drew a heart card, and it says exercise. The player drawing this card will read an incomplete sentence, and every player will finish the sentence silently with the first thought that comes to mind. So you just do this in your head. Does that make sense? I'm going to start a sentence and you finish it.
Okay. But we don't say it out loud.
Right. Just think it. Okay. So here, I'll read it. Challenge is. Okay, now the rest of the card says, what was your first thoughts? How's that grammar? And there's a typo for me to fix. What was your first thought? Is this what you want to believe at a subconscious level? If not, look into affirmations and how to create them and use them to reprogram your mind. A great resource on this topic is Jack Canfield's book, The Success Principles, which I mentioned earlier. 1 point to the player who drew this card, so that's me in the heart category. 1 additional point to any player who commits to creating an affirmation and repeating it at least twice daily for 30 days with an accountability partner and a check-in date. So,
very cool.
Do you guys want to share? You don't have to, but do you want to share what came to mind?
I suppose I will. I thought of challenge being going outside of my comfort zone.
Right.
I believe that's sort of the essence of what challenge is for me. So I suppose I would view that as something that I did want to engage on a daily basis as a personal exercise to try and go outside of my comfort zone in some way and challenge myself to grow in some way.
Cool. And so it seems to me like that's an empowering connection with challenge. Do you feel like that?
Yeah, I'd like to look at it that way.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So it should be, just so I'm making sure I caught everything that you said. So it should be a challenge and then an affirmation to help with that challenge. Is that correct?
Yeah. The idea here is this exercise reveals what you think about challenge. So if I say challenge is, and you're thinking something like scary, intimidating, risky, or whatever, if you don't like what came up, if you don't like what's in your subconscious, then we're recommending that affirmations are a good way to fix that, to make it what you want it to be. So you can earn a point if you commit to an affirmation.
I see.
If you already like what came up, then it's probably not needed.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the idea there. Do you feel like sharing yours, Brandon?
Yeah, well, so for me, the challenge that I came up with is committing to, as of maybe 4 months ago or so, I started doing yoga pretty regularly. So the challenge is for me, doing, basically going to yoga more frequently. So I instantly thought of, skipping less as a challenge, or, as a commitment. I thought of committing to, 4 4 days a week, 4 or 5 days a week is what came to mind. Whereas now I'm probably realistically going maybe 3 days a week.
Okay. Yeah. And I think I didn't explain the card quite perfect. That's all really valid stuff. But the idea of this card is to have, it brings to the surface whatever you think about challenge, like the topic of challenge itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I might be getting confused on that.
Right. It's a pretty wordy card, and I can't just show it to you because we're in different rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. That's a lot of yoga too. That's a very worthy goal. It's something I would like to do as well.
It's really been beneficial, and I just want to step it up a little bit.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So let's see. It's back to you, right, Brandon?
Yes. Okay. So.
Oh wait, sorry, but this is the turn that you miss while you're getting supercharged.
Gotcha.
In the forge. So it's back to Dalien.
All right. I am rolling again then.
All right.
And I rolled a 3.
All right. So the elephant. Oh, and by the way, if people are at home going, wait, what's with the elephant and the dragon and the frog? These are just pieces that I got and added to the game. So it comes with your generic little bowling pin shaped fake person, but I think it's cool to have other little pieces. So you landed on people.
All right. So now I draw a people card.
Right.
And I get the following. What is one nice thing you can do for yourself within the next 24 hours? 1 point to any player committing to doing something nice for themselves within the next 24 hours. It could be as simple as a hot bath, a favorite meal, taking some time to read or watch your favorite sports team. Enjoy. All right, so one nice thing I can do for myself within the next 24 hours. I suppose it's actually might be to spend some quality time in nature or outside. Maybe just go for an actual nice walk as opposed to like the just quick kind of walk to the store that I took right before we started tonight. But
yeah, good. Cool. So if you want to commit to that, you can get a point. I think that's how the card read, wasn't it? Or did you get a point just for drawing the card?
No, it's at 1 point to a player committing to an action.
Okay. Cool. And I'm sorry, I should have been listening more closely. Did it say any player?
Yes, it did say.
Okay, cool. Nice. I'm trying to think if there's anything I should be doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, if it's any player, I would like to get a point for committing to something.
Cool.
The other thing that I've been trying to do more of is meditation. So I've meditated off and on for years, but really trying to stick to it in a very committed fashion, beginning my day, or at least at some point in the morning, doing that. So I would like to commit to doing meditation for at least 15 to 30 minutes in the next 24 hours.
Cool. And so that you would put on the top half of your player sheet there under my commitment.
Okay.
And you would get somebody as an accountability partner for you.
Okay, perfect. Well,
and
Dan's
it's somebody in the game to hold you accountable.
So Dalien can be my.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you
so
earned a point for that.
Dalien, you'll write that on the lower half of the sheet where it says my partner's commitment.
Gotcha. All right. Very good. We are ready to proceed here with your turn, I suppose, now, huh?
Okay. I rolled a 3. Wow, we're really in sync here. 1, 2, 3. So we're on the same spot again, Dalien. And I'm pulling another people card.
All right.
Okay, how can you add value to others' lives? How do you already add value to others' lives? After you've shared, other players are welcome to share how they think you add value to others. Receive 1 point for drawing this card and sharing. Well, the first thing that comes to mind because we're playing this game is I made this game. So that's a pretty easy card for me.
That is a most direct answer, but of course a very valuable answer and game overall. So yeah, good one. There you go.
Perfect. And since we're both on the space, Dalien, if you want to share something, you can also get a point in people.
Let's see. I suppose that my value here is contributing my wonderful insights here on the side as the sidekick of the Positive Head podcast. I'll go ahead
Did you say psychic or sidekick?
Depends on how you heard that, right? Yeah. If you heard that
could
with
be
your
a catchy
pineal
thing. You could get
eye.
a psychic in there and have a psychic sidekick.
Exactly.
I like that. I like that.
And you gotta step up your intuitive abilities, buddy.
That's my value. Is I implanted that idea into your brain and you picked it up psychically.
I'm sure some local psychic would love to be on your show, for a segment or something.
Yeah.
And it says I can share about how I think you add value to others too. So I think having a second person on a podcast is a really cool dynamic. I think it adds a lot. Actually, my favorite podcast overall probably is the Joe Rogan's podcast. And he usually has somebody else in there with him. And, he has a lot of comedian buddies and interesting people that he hangs out with. So, whether they're doing like the color commentary or sometimes they're looking up interesting stuff as they're talking about it, giving them the little factoids and stuff. I think it makes the podcast a lot better.
Yeah, I definitely, something that I strongly considered, when launching the podcast. And Dalien was more than willing, and I figured he was a good way to balance me out. I can be a little spazzy and very verbose, and he's usually like the voice of reason and calm, cool, and collective. So I felt like it was a good match.
That's actually a perfect example, because then I'd go, "Hey, Dalien, can you look up verbose?" So I've heard that. Does that mean talks a lot?
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. Good guess.
Yep.
Yeah, and I sort of naturally fall into that role of the sort of the sound effects guy to Brendan here, where I can cue in some appropriate like sort of noise or whatever for him. Yeah.
Well, if you guys made music together, you should already be on that, right? You got that down.
Right? Yeah. There's exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
Exactly.
So it's Brandon, right? Now you're out of the forge.
Yes. Released from the forge, stronger for it.
Yep.
Okay.
You can add 1 to any roll for the rest of the game now.
Okay. So I rolled a 2.
All right. That puts you on mind.
Mind, or I could go to body if I chose to.
Oh, right.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Let's do mind.
Okay.
So let me look up the mind card.
Oh, hey, just something I forgot to mention. I want to tell you before you make that choice. Every time you cross the forge, you get a wild card, like an additional card. And if you land on the forge, you get double points. So there is some advantage to moving faster, just so that you know that when you're choosing if you want to add the extra one or not.
I see. Okay. That's good to know. And also, I would mark here on my player sheet, completed trip to the forge, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then also every time you get a point, like with my commitment to meditate, what did that fall under, Dalien? Was that?
I think that was people. That was the do something nice for yourself. I think that was the people card.
Okay, so I would mark, because I made that commitment, I would mark one of the people boxes, correct?
Right. Yep.
Yes, that is true.
Okay, just making sure I've got this.
Right.
Okay, so now I am on mind. Let's see. What is something in your life that you could eliminate to make space for something more fulfilling? How could you do this? Receive 1 point for drawing this card and sharing. Any player may receive 1 additional point for committing to eliminating something from their life. What's something I could eliminate to make space for something more fulfilling? That's a good one. And how could I do it? Well, one thing that I could eliminate to make space for something more fulfilling. Once again, I've touched on a few things that I'm really trying to do, body wise, and is yoga. I mentioned meditation. I mentioned another thing is I am a pescatarian at this point. I stopped eating meat about a year ago, and I'm trying to actually go full, vegan ultimately is my goal. And I obviously it's debatable among some people, health reasons and things like that. But for me, it's both a combination of the health reasons and, spiritual reasons. So I believe you're taking on the vibration of the animal and so forth, and if it's lived in a tough situation or fearful or, it's you're absorbing that. So not to judge anyone that does eat meat, but that's something that, I could eliminate to make space for something more fulfilling in my own life, based on my own perspective. How could I do this? Cutting out seafood and, taking that next step, after a year of kind of this pescatarian, approach. Now I haven't done it yet. So it says receive 1 point for drawing this card and sharing. Just for sharing that idea, I get a point.
Yep. And if we wanted to get a point, we would actually have to commit to something, but you can get it just for sharing.
Good. Good.
Now, did you want to go ahead and try and commit to something, Dan? Because I think I might. Yeah.
I think I might as well. Yeah, I'm going to. So what I've been doing, one of the things I've been doing lately is designing and selling shirts.
Okay.
And I think I wanted to learn the basics of design. I didn't know anything about Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator. And so I've been messing around and learning that. But I think I've learned enough now that it might be time to turn the designing back over to the designer that I used in the beginning. Because it just hit me like when this card came up, I've been spending probably way too much time on that just because I'm not fast and not that good at it. Right. So I think, let's see, within the next week, I'll have that turned over to someone else. And I think I know who I'm going to turn that over to. So would one of you like to be my partner on that one?
Sure. I'd love to be.
Okay. I'll write your name down then. And if you can just scribble down on the lower half of the sheet there, Dan not doing t-shirt designs or offloading that task. And I figure we're connected on Facebook, so that makes sense as far as contact.
Yep.
All right.
Within a week, you said?
Yeah, I just wrote 7 days, so whatever day that would be next Friday here, next Thursday where you are.
Okay. So I will put here, target date would be, what does that put us at, the 16th? So here?
Or Thursday, whatever. I think.
Yeah.
It's the 16th here.
Actually, 15th, yeah. Okay, yeah. Got it.
Yeah, and I guess so basically I'll probably contact you and let you know I've done it, but if you don't hear from me and it's getting close to 7 days, you might shoot me a little reminder, hey, how's that going?
Will do.
Yeah.
So you get your point now, but if you fall through, how does that work?
I don't know. I guess then I would just there's no actual recourse for it, but because I've committed to it and we both wrote it down, I tell people it's like the difference between, say I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow versus, hey, Brandon, see you at the gym tomorrow at 5:00. Because then, I've got a partner. I need to be there. I've made that commitment to someone else.
Absolutely.
It's much more likely to happen.
Makes total sense.
Yeah. Okay. And that was Brandon's turn. So we're back to Dalien, right?
Yes. Now,
okay.
Now, do you want to take a quick moment and explain how and when the game ends or someone wins?
Sure. The way that works, there are 5 categories. It's heart, body, mind, people, intangibles. So there are 2 ways the game can end. One is that someone has fulfilled 3 points in each of the 5 categories, and that would mean they're fulfilled. That's the term for it. Or you've got a time limit. Say you don't have to have a time limit, but often we set it at an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever. At the end of time, whoever has the most total points would be the winner. And what that means, in the game, there's a gift exchange. So everybody brings a gift, and whoever wins gets first pick of the gifts, and then whoever is the second place player gets the second pick. So everybody gets something, but you get, there is some incentive to.
That's an awesome. I love that.
Yes.
I actually, within sight of where I'm sitting now, I've got an orchid that I won in a game. That was cool. I was the winning player, and everybody was eyeballing this orchid that somebody brought. And I was like, cool, I get the orchid.
So when do we disclose our gifts?
In the beginning, everybody just puts it in a little pile, on the table or in the corner or something.
So should we just do that for the audience's benefit now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can start. I was going to offer either one of you, whoever gets the gift, a post on the Positive Thinking Facebook page, which we talked about. So you could use that to promote, anything you want, or to say happy birthday to somebody or whatever,
Cool. Okay. Cool. I can offer my services as a graphic designer, actually. So that's something that I can sort of lay there as a general offer, but more specifically to you, though, there, Dan. So
I'm going to take those services no matter what. He knows.
Yes, those services are already
cool.
sort of being. But that's something that can also be set up through our connection here. But
great,
yes,
that's excellent. Very good.
And on my end, I believe I will gift a Positive Head bracelet. So the Positive Head bracelet, for those of you out there listening who haven't seen or read about it on the Positive Head website, it's essentially they've done cognitive conditioning studies where people use a rubber band to snap themselves whenever they're having a negative thought or emotion. And the Positive Head bracelet is just that. I turned it into a real item with the Positive Head logo. It's made out of recycled materials, recycled tires and metal, and that will be my gift offering for the purpose of the game.
Cool. That's a good one. I've heard about that study.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, very good. And if I win that, I'll let you off the hook, and you can send it to my mom, who's in the States. It probably costs like $40 to mail it to Thailand.
Oh, yeah. Huh?
All right.
Yeah, fair enough.
Cool. Okay, good. Let's see. Whose turn was it?
It was my turn. Yes.
Okay.
So I am rolling now, and I get a 2.
Okay, so you went right over the fall forward and landed on tangibles.
All right. I am rolling a tangibles card. I got... Do you ask for what you really want? Do you let the waiter seat you at a table you don't like? Or do you speak up? Do you tell your friend which movie you'd like to watch, or just let them pick? Asking for what you want can be done in a friendly fashion, I suppose, manner. So I suppose this is just like more of an exercise, sort of something for me to ponder in this case.
Yeah, it looks like his card might be cut off here for some reason.
Yeah, actually, we might be missing something.
Yeah, that
here.
sounds like a typo. So maybe we ran out of room for some reason. I'll have to fix that. And so I guess that's what you get with the free online version. But yeah, I think how that one ends is kind of share and reflect on that for a point.
Okay. Okay. Well, as far as that, what the card brought up, I have been guilty of it in the past, but these days I just try and basically gauge whether something is either truly important for me for whatever reason, or if it's something that I can totally just let go of in that moment. So I try to make that sort of a conscious exercise in evaluating how I feel about different things in my life. If it's something that is somehow a big deal for me, I will try and, address it in a mature way. If it's something that really is something that I could get over because it's really not that important, then, I will try and do so as well.
Yeah.
It makes me think of, I actually had a friend over earlier, and they had the book, The Four Agreements, with them. I don't know if you're familiar with that book or not.
Absolutely.
But I was just looking at it, I hadn't seen the book in years, but, great little book, by the way. I would recommend to anyone out there. I think the guy's name is Don Miguel Ruiz, if I'm remembering off the top of my head correctly. And
it's Ruiz if people are listening.
Yes, right.
Check it out.
Great book. And one of the four agreements that it talks about is don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicating with others, clearly, so you can avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama With just this one agreement, you can completely transform your life. So that's just reading. I just pulled it up here online. So that makes me think of that. And I just, had that in my hands earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Very
that
cool.
reminds me of something that I dealt with when I was a kid. For whatever reason, my dad would always ask me, hey, you want to go fishing? You want to go hiking? You want to do this? You want to do that? And a lot of times I did, but sometimes I didn't for whatever reason, right? And I think either I wanted to make my dad happy because I could tell he wanted to go hiking, or, something along those lines. Or maybe I was a little bit intimidated. For some reason, I just didn't really say no to my dad.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a big confrontation. It was just like, so Dan, you want to go up to the lake and go fishing this weekend? And I'd just go, sure. Even if I really wanted to go to my friend's birthday party or whatever.
Right.
And I was, somehow that came up with my mom. They were split up. So when I was at my mom's house, it came up somehow, and she goes, why don't you just tell him that you don't want to go? I think we were talking about a particular, choice I had. And it was so weird because when she said that, it was like, it had never occurred to me or something. Wait, could I just say no thanks, and do it in a nice way? And my dad won't be like destroyed that I don't want to go fishing with him. And so I did, and he was fine. I just said something like, oh, that sounds good, but I'd rather go over and hang out with Joey this weekend if you don't mind, or, and he's like, sure. And I was pretty young. I don't remember, probably, elementary school age. And he was fine with it. It was no big deal. And it was like, wow, I could have been saying that
was
all
easy.
Yeah.
I could avoid a lot of fishing trips without any catch.
Yeah. So anyway, that's when I learned this card, or when I started to learn it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. So is it my turn?
I don't have any idea. Was that Dalien, the last one?
Yeah, that was, I just drew the last
card. Who rolled
card.
the 6? Because that person went first.
I rolled the 6 at the very top of the game.
So it was...
Yes, and then went to the forge.
And then I think Dalien went after you, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So then it's me, right?
So it's your turn.
I think.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I rolled a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I landed on mind. Drawing a mind card. Okay, if you are worrying about a situation, it can be very helpful to consider the worst case scenario. It could be losing your job, your business, your relationship. Often when we really stop to think about the worst that can happen, we realize that we could persevere through it if necessary. Worry will not solve your problem. Only productive thoughts and actions will. Once we understand and acknowledge the worst case, we're often calm and collected to think and take action to improve the situation. 1 point for drawing this card. All players are welcome to share their thoughts.
I'd like to share my thoughts on this one.
Sure.
I absolutely see the logic of what the card is saying. The only kind of issue that I may have with it is, where attention goes, energy flows. So I would recommend, if you're going to consider the worst case scenario, you do so without putting a lot of time and energy investment into it, simply because, for that very reason. If I'm sitting here and I'm dwelling on, I'm going to get fired from my job, over and over and over, and here's what it would be like, and I'm drumming up the feeling of what the experience would be like, I'm literally, co-creating that experience, because I'm a vibrational alignment to it when I'm thinking and feeling, feelings that relate to it.
Right. I think that's really valid. And I think when this makes sense, in the beginning there, it says, if you are worrying about a situation. So it's a case where you're already thinking about it.
Okay.
And I know for myself anyway, and I think a lot of other people, it can be worse and more persistent and longer lasting when it's sort of this fear of this unquantified unknown, right? You're just like, oh, if this, then something bad, right? And you just kind of, it's like a pointless loop in your head. And you say it, you did bad on a test and you might fail a class, and that's a reality. It's a fact already, maybe, and you're worried about it. Well, maybe you can shift it to, okay, so if I was to fail this class, it's available next quarter, and I would just have 2 hours a week more classes. It's not that big a deal. I could just watch one less TV show a week. You know what I mean?
Right. So, you're talking about freeing up the the, the negative feeling as opposed to continuing to dwell on it.
Yeah. So it helps you kind of let it go and go, you know what, if it's a relationship, if it ended, it wouldn't be great, but I've been through something like that before. It wouldn't be the end of the world, that kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. And, my recommendation would be, and then after that point, give it no more thoughts whatsoever and drum up the feeling of what it would be like to get the outcome that you really want to see, in your life.
Right. Right. And I agree 100%. And then once you're thinking about that, then you might see opportunities and action that you can take to make it go that direction too, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one. Cool. That leads to good conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is the point of this game.
Totally. And, I've found I didn't know either one of you guys before. And even when you play with people, fairly well, things come up that you have never talked about with these people. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Okay, so it's Dalien, I think, right?
I believe it's me.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So let me roll a dice here. Okay, I got a 4.
Okay, 4, 3, 4. So you're on tangibles with Dalien, so you can both participate in this one. Oh, and I forgot, if you want, you can move forward 1 to heart.
Oh, I think I will take you up on the heart.
Okay.
The competitive side of me doesn't want to give Dalien any, extra opportunities either.
Right.
Maybe that's why I need the heart card. Okay, so heart, share a favorite memory of success or recognition and receive 1 point. One memory of success or recognition that I can think of, actually, that I referenced in my initial podcast, the kind of About Me podcast. And as you, I don't know if you know this or not, but if you've listened to the initial podcast, you do. Dalien and I were in a band called Kundalini for many years. And we were kind of right there. We played with some pretty big bands and, got a sort of development deal with a major label for a minute there at one point and, had a decent following and things like that. And one of my favorite memories of success, our bass player, his brother, was the drummer in the band No Doubt. Adrian Young is his name. And so I remember at a show, we played a show, I want to say like the Roxy in Hollywood or something, and we had done a bus from Orange County where we were living, a bus, or we do 2 buses sometimes of, us and fans going up to Hollywood to play shows. And I remember, Adrian coming up to me after the show and saying, wow, you guys absolutely, your performance blew me away. In particular, you blew me away. So that was a really cool moment for me to get that kind of recognition from someone who's in a, world famous band who, at one point there's a year, right around 2000 or so where they had the most played song on the FM dial worldwide. So that was really cool to get that kind of, still in a band that was a struggling band to make it. And here's someone who's really big time, giving you those kind of props.
Yeah, no kidding. That's really cool.
So that was cool. That's one
Very
that
cool.
sticks out.
Very cool. And especially coming from him because, knowing the guy and his brother a little bit, they are definitely very cool, down-to-earth people, good-hearted people. So it's sort of a doubly gratifying compliment.
Now, the fact that he had a baker's dozen of kamikaze shots. We won't talk about that.
Yeah, but everyone else at the show probably did too, right? So it's okay.
Right.
Nice. No, he wasn't. He was pretty stable on his feet. He's a rock star, so he knows how to handle whatever he does, I think. But so yeah, that's what comes to mind for me.
That's a cool story. Very nice.
All right.
So I get a point for that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So back to Dalien.
Okay, now I am rolling again, and this time I got a 5.
Okay. now you're back in the lead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you passed the forge and landed on people. And so for those of you listening to the show, this board is an infinity loop. So there's an intersection and the forge is in the middle. So Dalien just passed the forge, and that's sort of similar to passing Go in Monopoly. What you get from that is you'll draw a people card because that's what you landed on. And you also get to pick a card from any category you want. So you have the chance to earn more than 1 point probably.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay, cool. So now I get to draw a people card.
Yep.
And I get the following. What is one important thing you learned from each of your parents? If you were not close with your parents, what is one thing you learned from another role model, teacher, coach, etc.? Receive 1 point for drawing this card and sharing. Okay, well, one important thing I learned from my father, I suppose, that I can share now is that I remember when I was very young, I would like to draw and doodle a lot, I suppose, like any kid. But I would start making comic books or just sort of start projects, I suppose, start like elaborate things that I wouldn't finish. And I would just sort of start a number of things and not really follow through with them. And once he noticed that, he immediately just sort of started to tell me that I needed to finish things. So that got in my head really big, and I can't say that I've totally stuck to this in my life, but for certainly it's one thing that I've tried to be faithful to is having the sort of dedication to see things through. If I'm committed to something, being willing to put, sort of like like I mentioned earlier during the podcast, willing to put actually years worth of effort into something worthwhile. So that would be that would be the one thing that I can share for sure off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's really valuable.
Absolutely. I think that's a big one that a lot of us have to struggle with, and starting things and seeing them through, because otherwise you have half a dozen half-baked ideas or projects and nothing, tangible to show for your efforts.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, good. On to me, did you want to share anything on that one, Brandon? Or
No, I'm good.
Okay. I rolled a 3. So, hey, you know what? I almost forgot, Dalien, you also get a wild card.
Oh, okay, that's right. So I can go ahead and draw any card that I want. Right. Let's see.
And fall forward isn't one of the proper categories. So from the other categories, you can choose.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, I probably should pick one that I haven't picked yet myself. So I think body is one that I haven't picked one from. Clicking that. What type of physical activity is fun for you? Find healthy activities that you enjoy. Finding healthy activities that you enjoy is a great way to stay consistently active. Basketball, dancing, gardening, walking the dog, and swimming are all perfect examples. 1 point for drawing this card, and 1 additional point to any player who commits to doing a fun and healthy activity in the next 7 days. Well, that's been a theme so far a little bit with Brandon. One thing that I could commit to that I already sort of brought up, but one thing that I could realistically do here and commit to right away would be going for a walk every day, and trying to make it more of a dedicated sort of daily routine.
Can we make suggestions?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So here's something that I've talked to, as I mentioned earlier, I've been practicing yoga for, a little while now, and wanting to even increase, how frequently I do yoga. And it's something that I've actually talked to Dalien about coming, hey, you should really come and, see what it's like. So it's something that he's given me the nod and the, oh yeah, that I'll do that. And he's shown some genuine interest, but it's pretty much stopped at that. So, something that I could then hold him accountable for, as opposed to doing a walk, which he does, he's a little more prone to do, is pushing him a little bit to actually come and do his first yoga session.
Cool. Well,
putting him on the spot.
Yeah, you did kind of put me on the spot. I'll counter with the following, that I think that over the next week I can certainly commit to the thing that I came up with. Oh. And I will keep your yoga thing as something that I will go ahead and commit to for sure, though. But here in the near future, because I have to actually wait until next week before I can realistically commit to that.
Oh, so. Okay. So what you're saying is you couldn't commit within 7 days.
Right, exactly. Yes.
You couldn't commit 1 hour within 7 days.
No, I couldn't commit to going with you to yoga.
Okay, fair enough. It's your card.
Yes. Okay.
This actually, I want to just mention something about the game itself. And I know you guys are buddies and everything, so I'm not saying you broke this rule at all. But the first rule, actually, and it's an important one. Again, I don't think you guys specifically need it, but it just reminded me of it. It says, no pressure, advice, or criticism is given unless asked for. Any player may choose to pass. Yeah, and any player may choose to pass or delay any card. So it's important, I think, when you get into stuff like this. Some people are like, it's a little bit outside their comfort zone to play a game like this. So
sure.
That
you don't want to make it uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. So if somebody just says, I don't want to talk about that, it's a little personal or whatever, that's totally fine. And nobody's supposed to say like, oh, come on, just tell us, do it, Yeah.
Fair enough. That makes total sense. I just, like you said, we've been friends for a long time. So I just like to push his buttons if I can. And
that's cool. That's cool that you put that in there. But since this was my wild card anyway, that I drew willingly, then
all rules out the door. I wasn't having
any of it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Good deal. Okay. I'm going to commit to one too, and that was people. Or what category was that one?
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. That last one was body.
The one that I drew. So I'm going to commit to. Let's see, what's today? It's Friday here. I'm going to go. My girlfriend is in town right now, but she's leaving town on Sunday. So I'm going to commit to taking a bike ride with her before she takes off. Because for Christmas, I got a pair of bikes so that we could go ride around the area here. And you
haven't done it yet?
Well, we've done it, but I just want to she's going to be gone for a few weeks. So I want to do that again before she leaves.
Gotcha.
So I'll do that by Sunday. Bike ride.
Okay, and then you get a point for that?
Yeah. And I figured, Brandon, since you're my partner on the t-shirt commitment, would you mind doing this one too?
Yep. So we've got let me put the date down here. We've got a week.
It's actually the Sunday that's 2 days from now. So.
Oh, okay. So this one is, you just said it. You had a week, but you're setting it by Sunday for yourself. Is that?
Yeah. Because she's leaving. So.
Gotcha. Okay. So hold on 1 second. Let me make note.
We did a visa run. The backstory on it is I had to go to Laos. People in the U.S. call it Laos. I had to go to the Thai consulate in Laos to get my visa. And we went there together and rented bicycles because I don't remember why. We didn't rent motorbikes. It was a cool town with a river, like a park along the river, and it was a small town. So we rented bicycles and had a really good time. So I decided we should get some bikes here, and it's been good.
Nice.
We take the dog too. He's kind of a little bit spastic, but he can run alongside the bicycle. So far, he hasn't had me in any crashes. We've come close a couple times.
Well, I would like to not miss out on a point.
Okay.
And also better myself. So I will commit to doing a 2-mile run within the next week. I used to run oftentimes in the morning, and I have slacked off on that in the last few months. So that's going to be my commitment.
All right, you overachiever, you. Go ahead and commit to another bit of physical activity there, since you're on a roll, clearly.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. That's got the morning yoga and the run.
Yeah, totally.
Yoga I normally do in the afternoon, but yeah, so.
Hey, now I forgot. Where in California are you guys?
Costa Mesa area, which is Orange County, about 45 minutes outside of Los Angeles.
Okay.
So I'm right near Costa Costa Mesa, Newport Beach. So literally, I'm about 5-minute walk to the ocean to the oceanfront.
Cool, great. And not that I think everybody in California knows each other, but are you familiar by chance with a radio show by a guy named Greg Friedman? I can't remember the name of the show.
Actually, hold on. Let me see if this is the same person. Yes. A woman that
is a friend of similar mine. Stuff, I thought.
Yeah. And he's in Laguna, I believe. And let me see if it's him. Hold on real quick, because a woman that I did an interview with, Sue Krebs, Akashic Records reader, she was in town, and we actually did our interview in person because she was doing an interview with Greg Friedman. Yeah. On Inner Journey.
Inner Journey.
Yeah. So, I just actually just did the recording with her, and the next day she did her interview with Greg Friedman, which was just posted on her page, Soul Speaking, yesterday. So
cool. There's a couple good plugs then. I was on
exactly. She's an
with
awesome
Greg about a
lady,
week
too.
or two ago. And what was her name? Sue Krebs? Is that what you said?
Sue Krebs. Yep. Krebs. You can see her page is Soul Speaking.
Okay. Cool. Nice. Yeah.
Very
you know what?
cool
I'm
lady.
on the show or the page for Greg's show, and I see it. It was the most recent episode. It looks like 3 days ago.
Yeah. It just happened. Yeah. Small world.
I
There's
might
some
have to listen to that
synchronicity for
because
us.
you said Akashic Records, and I don't know what that is.
Akashic Records. Well, you'll have to listen to the podcast with that I did with Sue, and it has she goes into great detail, but essentially it's the imagine Google for the universe, or it's all. So you would have a record, a file of everything that you've ever done, will do, past lives, future lives. It's all in the Akashic Records. And so Sue accesses those records and can pull information. Right. It's pretty
That reminds me of the
fascinating.
whole St. Peter at the gates to heaven looking through your file,
Right. Yeah, no, exactly.
Same concept for sure. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Okay, whose go is it here?
Good question. This is one of the funny problems with the game is you end up on these tangents.
To answer your question, I do not know Greg, but I definitely think I need to meet him. He's come up twice in the last few days, and he's my neighbor. So
yeah, and you have so much crossover, I think, with what your shows are about. So yeah, cool. I was just on his show a week or two ago. I'm not sure if he's posted it yet, but it was fun. Good stuff. Awesome. So I forgot again whose turn that was. Dalien?
Yes. I think that may be possibly your turn, actually.
Yeah. So I rolled a 3 because I jumped the gun. So now I think it's actually my turn. So 1, 2, 3. And again, Dalien and I are on the same space, the people space. And I passed the forge. So I'll get 2 cards. Okay. So I'll draw the people first. Who was a hero of yours growing up? It could be a real person or a fictional character. Why did you admire this person? Who is a hero of yours now, and why? 1 card for drawing this point and sharing. All players are welcome to share. I usually go with just what comes up first in my mind. And 2 of my heroes were Wyatt Earp and William Wallace. And it was both of those people. It was because of movies about them, which were, partly fictional. So it's kind of a hybrid of a real hero and a movie hero. Of course, William Wallace, Mel Gibson played William Wallace in Braveheart. And then Wyatt Earp, I think what first got me into Wyatt Earp was the movie Tombstone. And Kurt Russell was Wyatt Earp in that movie. And Kevin Costner played him in another movie. And then I read some books about him. And so what I liked, they're pretty similar guys, just from different places and times. And they were both about justice, courage, doing what was right, even if it was hard. And they risked a lot to try to do what was right. And, once in a while, they obviously were both warrior types as well. So when you're a kid, of course, that's fun, right? A shootout in the Old West or a big sword fight somewhere in Scotland gets you all excited as a kid. But I think they both had that integrity and courage that I wanted to have. So I still think those were both awesome people, but I also realized that the movies were, a Hollywood version of their life.
Right.
And so who's a current hero of mine? The first person that popped into my head is Richard Branson. And he, for people that aren't familiar with him, he owns Virgin Everything. He started with music. Right. He actually started before that with a magazine. I think it was called Student. And then he got into music and then airlines. And I think it's hundreds of companies now.
Phone service. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, trains in England, he's got so much going
Virgin
on.
Galactic, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And the thing I really like about him, he also made a lot of headlines for his crazy balloon flights. He almost died in one of those.
Oh, yeah. I saw that story.
Yeah. His biography, or one of them, I think the one I read or actually listened to the audiobook was, what was it? The most recent one is Screw It, Let's Do It. And I haven't read that, but it was, what was it? It was some play on the word virgin, of course. Whatever. I read he almost died in the balloon flight, but he's also, I think he's either dyslexic or he's got some kind of it's tough for him with figures and, percentages and spreadsheets and things are tough for him, but he surrounds himself with great people, and he's so strong in other areas that his weaknesses haven't held him back. So going back to what I said about biographies earlier, I think it's really, for me, super inspiring to look at people who have accomplished amazing things and find out that they weren't, just naturally talented. They didn't just coast to success, that they overcame things. And what that tells me is that, well, hey, that guy's not perfect. It's something I can do great things as well. I just need to take action.
Absolutely.
So I remember
and he
Richard
was fearless.
Branson.
I mean,
yeah, exactly. He got outside his comfort zone, like Dalien was talking about.
Absolutely.
But he did an interview. I saw it on YouTube, I think, and he was laughing about how he wasn't real good with, the accounting side of things. And he said, yeah, it's funny. I joke around with my accountants, and they make fun of me because I just now understand the difference between gross profit and net profit. And then he started to explain it, and he goes, here, let me tell you about it. And then he got like 2 sentences into it, and then he kind of paused and goes, wait, no, that's not right. Wait, maybe I still don't understand it.
That's so great.
So if you have
I want to look that up now, because that's really, really cool, really inspiring.
Yeah. So I think there are people out there who are letting some belief limit them, and it might just be that they need to understand that people that accomplish big things, often there's something they're not good at. They're not perfect. So
yeah. Well, I would like to add one as well.
Sure.
As far as someone from the past, anyway. Now, did the card require that you do someone past and current, or
you're welcome to share anything you want, but it said,
I'm gonna just share one quick one.
Yeah.
From the past, and that's Walt Disney. For those of you who know his story, I mean, he here's a guy who I can just relate to, because he was such a dreamer and such a eternal child. And, I think he went bankrupt 9 times before he was successful. Yeah. Imagine that. So on the 9th time this guy files bankruptcy, do you think there was a soul in the world that thought he would go on to be Disney, the Disney we all know and love now, to create, all the magic that's come from him? Imagine if he didn't have that spirit of, you only lose when you quit, and I'm never going to stop believing in my dreams and believing in myself. Because certainly by the ninth bankruptcy, there were probably not many people betting on that guy. So I find him, all those things taken into consideration, super inspiring. And so that's one that I just wanted to share.
When you mentioned Disney, it reminds me, I don't know if you've seen this video that's been floating around for years, but it's called Famous Failures. And he was one of the examples. It talks about all these people that everybody knows that have achieved all these different things. And it mentions some criticism that somebody had to say. A lot of them were teachers and things like that, professors. And I think the criticism that somebody had of Walt Disney was he had no imagination, I mean, so yeah.
Oh, wow. That's funny.
I love that topic of people that got knocked down and kept going. I
can definitely relate to it. Oh yeah. And we can all relate to it on some level,
Yeah.
And you just, keep pushing forward and keep believing in yourself. And I'm looking, in the studio here, I have a big sign that says, I believe in you, that I'm staring at right now.
Right.
So, I think it's really important for me to, see it, even though I created it, and for anyone that's in my space here, in the studio to see it. So
yeah, cool. I also have a wild card. Unless Dalien, did you want to share on that or?
No, I don't really have anything in particular for this one, so go right ahead.
Okay, so I think I'll draw tangibles because I haven't had one of those yet. What's one of the most wonderful things you've ever smelled? 1 point for drawing this card and sharing. A couple things. Yeah, I like, nobody talks about smells very often. But they say it's the sense that leaves like the most long-lasting memories and things too.
Absolutely.
Well, one that comes to mind because I'm in the same place right now is this apartment that I live in here. I'm in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and I'm on the 6th floor. I have a big balcony. And down below in the parking lot of our complex here, there's a place called Chunky Monkey, I think. I always get it wrong. Is it Chunky? Yeah. Anyway, they make granola and, things made out of granola, like these really good chocolate chip cookies. Anyway, they have these big ovens down there. They look like big pizza ovens, and they cook bake big racks of cookies and granola and all that. And it reminds me of in the cartoons when the smell lines go wafting up to somebody's apartment, and I sit up here and smell these cookies and granola. It's all like really good organic stuff, and I can smell the chocolate and the cinnamon and the honey.
Oh man. So I'm getting hungry.
Yeah. Wow. I had one of their cookies yesterday. I'm going to probably have to go there after we get done.
Yeah, definitely. Get one for me, please.
Yeah. Do you guys have any smells?
Have one in my honor.
That you want to?
Yeah, I actually have a smell. Something that we burn fairly often here in the studio is Palo Santo. Are you familiar with Palo Santo?
No, I've never heard of that.
Oh, it smells so amazing. It's actually a wood native to South America.
Okay.
And I have a friend that originally introduced me to it who's really, speaking of, synchronistical stories, he was gifted his first stick of Palo Santo several years ago. And he was so taken with this, the feeling, the energy that this particular wood gives you. And they use it, shamans and so forth use it in ceremony. He was so taken with it when he was originally exposed to it. He went to South America, a couple years later, and that's going back within the last year, to try and find a source to start, distributing it here, in the States. And he actually ended up in Ecuador, I believe it is, where there's a Palo Santo forest, like in a volcano ridge. And the caretaker actually had sent out Palo Santo and done a whole ritual to find the next caretaker. And they connected the dots and found out the original stick that was gifted to my friend Brandon was actually came from the same source from this guy who sent it out with the intention of attracting someone to come. Yeah. To come.
That actually just gave me a chill. That sounds like
it's really beautiful story. It's a really cool story. And Palo Santo is absolutely, I don't even know how to describe the feeling that I get when I smell it. It's very sacred, almost like sage or something, but I like it way more than sage. So
that's cool. I'm going to have to see there's a lot of incense over here in Thailand. I wonder if they have any of that around.
Yeah, it'd be a little stick. It's like a little stick of wood, maybe the size of your index finger, is normally how you'll see it. And then you just burn, and it burns, of course, really slowly. And, the smoke from it, it's really, really magical.
Cool.
I love that question. That's a cool one.
Yeah, that was a cool one.
Dalien, do you have anything you want to share?
No, I don't have. Well, I was going to share one very general one, but I don't have a specific one. Actually, the one specific one that I had thought of course, was Palo Santo. So Brandon sort of took that one. But,
we're both fans.
Yeah. But I just here lately, since I've been staying with him here at the house, and particularly last night, there's just been like a lot of really awesome smells in general. Because I think part of it is his girlfriend going around and like, you know, planting little things. Like when she brought these pine cones for Christmas here a couple weeks ago, that made the this little studio we have here smell really nice. Last night we had a little party, and there were also a couple of like really nice smells and scents in the air. So yeah, again, sort of like a general, you know, I don't have like a really specific one, but
she got actually one of the gifts I gave her was a diffuser for Christmas. So there's lots of you know, lavender and things like this wafting through the air. You know,
I think that's something that people often overlook. You know, they make a place look nice, and they want, you know, they think about things like music, or maybe they want the place to be quiet. Yeah, but I think I know I'm guilty of it. I'm looking around my place right now, and there's nothing in this room that's just here to make it smell good. I have some flowers and things outside, but you know, I just forget about it. So.
Yeah.
Now, is this whole subject that we're discussing now because you drew this tangibles card? Was that the one that brought us here? Huh.
Right.
That's interesting because that was your wild card. So it's cool how the game, like you said, goes into these little side tangents.
Right. Yeah, you don't really ever know where it's headed.
Yeah. Brandon even had that cool little story about Palo Santo, which actually I sort of missed because I got distracted here. I'm going to have you retell it to me.
Oh, yeah, it's a cool
here in private while the audience already heard it. But yeah.
Well, guys, we've been at the game, or actually recording now for about 2 hours. So, or getting very close to 2 hours or a few minutes away. And it's actually been really fun.
Yeah, good.
Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, and so, thanks for having this idea to play the game. I really liked it. It was
I really want to, you know, a big part of, you know, what this is all about for me is how can I help you with what you're doing, you know, by putting your message out there. And in this case, you have something more than a message. You have something that's, you know, we can experience together. So it makes even better, you know.
Cool. Great.
Then just talking is playing.
Yeah, good.
Any chance I get to play, I'm in.
Good. Yeah, cool. And, you know, I've done a little like 2-minute or 3-minute demonstration video on YouTube where I just pretend that I'm 2 players. But this is the first long form for people to listen to. That's really a cool idea.
Cool. Well, this has been really, really fun playing the Better Me game. I definitely am going to order a copy of the physical version. And what a great idea to have it free online so that people can get a taste for it. I think that's really smart of you. And I think it's just a matter of time till people really, you know, catch on with this. And I think you're going to have a lot of success with it. It's definitely unique when compared to any other type of board game I've ever played.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Good. I feel like it's slowly but surely gaining traction, and I really think that you putting it out there will help new people find it. So I feel really good about that.
Yeah, I feel really good to be a part of it, and you know, to share your first experience playing it, you know, in this fashion where people can access it and hear it, and so thanks so much.
You bet. And I want to mention real quick, too, that anybody out there, even if you haven't played the game yet, but you want to, or you want just a group, even if you never play the game, if you want a place where you can go and tell other people your commitments and see what other people are committing to and help support and hold each other accountable, we made a Facebook group for that. And so it's called Better Me Players Accountability and Connection. And if you just go to bettermegame.com, that's one of the tabs on the site. You'll see it says accountability group, and that'll take you there. So it's awesome. It's a good place to help each other out.
Yeah, I love the accountability element to the game. So you'll be hearing from me about the things that I'm supposed to hold you accountable for.
Great.
And
perfect. Thank you.
And if for some reason you don't come through, then I'm going to call the granola bakery that you live under and tell them no more to cut you off.
Yeah, no cookies until I accomplish my task.
No cookies. He did not do his homework.
Right.
Oh, man.
That's good. Cool.
So one last question that I like to always ask people. In 60 seconds or less, what is the meaning of life according to Dan O'Donnell?
Wow. I will just blurt out what comes to mind. I think that everybody has a different way of experiencing life and different things they're trying to accomplish. And that word accomplishment has so much connected to it. But I think everybody has a different experience. And I think of life as a game, and the world is like a big playground. So I think the point of it, the way I see things, is to get out there on the playground and play and, make things happen, try things. I think it was Emerson. He said all of life is an experiment, and the more experiments you do, the better. So get out there and do things. That's why we're here.
Awesome.
Good quote too. He's one of my favorites.
All right. Well, thank all of you out there for listening to this edition of the Positive Head podcast. Until next time, remember, as long as you ain't dead, you're already positive ahead. Take care, everyone.